For the sadists, meaning narcissistic or psychopathic people, um, I uh, I'm getting angry because the recording space on this phone is um, no matter how much I've deleted, it says you've reached the limit for recording on this phone, and it makes me angry because it reminds me of sadists, narcissistic and psychopathic people. If you imagine someone is in this phone preventing me from recording, and every time I try to delete, this psychopath will keep saying there's no, you've reached the limit, and people interfering with your computer and preventing you from posting on Facebook or something like that, which happens. That can make you angry, and that is not, I mean, well, that's not something I can do anything about. I can't help Facebook and the team who try to prevent me from teaching people about this, because you can't reach them by phone. I have uh, written an email to Zuckerberg, but he hasn't replied, so I'm still waiting for that. But about narcissist, which is Facebook is a good example of that, the team on Facebook, and psychopaths who try to create, they can also, who try to create conflicts or try to create reactions in people to make them angry, scared. They like to hurt other people in one way or the other in order to feel something in relation to the relationship to other people. I I talked about psychopaths in a mean way, but as long as people realize that that is the case, that is the disorder they have, and they want to get help in that situation. I don't talk about psychopaths like that. But when people don't want to listen and don't want to go into a dialogue with other people, or when they act mean consciously on purpose, and they know it's wrong but they do it anyway, that's well, there's no help for people like that. But people who realize that they have a narcissistic personality disorder, I think they can be helped through drama therapy, replaying themes and from their childhood and from their the times where in life where identity is created, where you get the sense of having an identity and knowing who you are, your values, what do you stand for, and how do you feel about this and that, and blah, blah. And I think the way to start the therapy would be to take the point of departure in how does it feel not to feel anything, because they say that narcissistic people have a weak sense of self and they don't feel they they feel good when other people are pushed out in extreme situations and feel scared, angry, hurt, whatever. And I think is because of some kind of you can feel powerless when I can imagine that, and I can remember what it was like through youth, being in an identity crisis. It happens for everyone in the time where you try to find out who am I, and I can remember how it felt like not knowing who am I, wanting to just throw everything away and just walk out and just walk like a vagabond, because yeah, and then I would find out, integrating the new experiences I had and finding out who am I now with these new experiences. That's when it happens. And also when in your adult life, when people die or anything, or something horrible happens, then you have to integrate that in your life and find out, who am I now with this knowledge and these experiences. And sometimes it's not possible, or it can be difficult, because life is a bitch. But that feeling must give the person some kind of feeling of powerlessness, or that numbness must be horrible to, and I can relate because of the identity crisis I have had in my youth. And I think everyone who will try to remember that feeling will be able to relate to that feeling of not knowing who am I. And it's the same when if people die and people are in sorrow, they go through these stages of, first they don't want to realize what happens, then they realize it and they react, and then the new orientation. And the new orientation means integrating the new experience into your life in order to move on and find out, who am I with these new experiences. So that is a feeling, to feel numb, to feel powerless, and it must be horrible. If in the movie Song to Song, there is a guy who is very he's crossing boundaries with other people all the time, and it seems like when a person in his life dies, and it seems like it was because of what he did to her, there's a situation where he's standing, and there's a close up to his face, and it's like it says some desperation in him, not crying, and like he seems desperate. And why don't I feel anything about this? And that made me think that when people are young, and teenagers and young people are sometimes very rebellious, and they need to be that to detach from their parents and grow into an individual, and to get their own sense of identity, not being that child in relation to the parents, or the parent, I think especially the parent of the same sex, because if you're a woman, you need to grow into a woman. If you're a man, you need to grow into a man. I mean, I think that is who you have. You have role models throughout your life, and the role model, because if I'm a woman, the role model will be my mother, and if that mother was, or someone's father, if it's a man, his father, if that father or mother is violent, is not taking care of your emotional needs, or is not good at communicating emotions, or doesn't talk to you about things, and just buys you presents in order to show affection, or whatever it is. And then when you need to, I think everyone needs to detach from their parents, and often in when you're a teenager, it's through rebellion against your parents. Then it can be difficult to rebel against parents who I don't know, who are violent. They will hit you in the face or whatever, or against people who, if you scream at them, they'll just scream even louder, like my mother did. Well, I think I have probably always been detached and found my role models other places, but also, well, so if for some reason that didn't happen, also if has been some heartbreak in the early years, when the child was a teenager or in early youth, that made the person feel, well, it hurts to love someone, then it's not good to love. That's what is been taught, and that's what the subconscious mind tells the consciousness or the ego. If it, if I use Freudian phrases, it says it's not good to love, and especially when it's taught in the early years, if there has been some difficult breakup, or if someone has died and it has been so hard and you didn't have anyone to talk to it about, or if your parents were divorced and you and they were not, they thought it was, well, that's a natural thing to do, and the child is just thrown from home to home without them talking about what that does to a child, then it can create some deep traumas. I thought about what if I had two boyfriends and then I had to live with one boyfriend 1 week and then go to the other next week, and maybe 10 boyfriends, and just move from place to place. But there are people who, well, they have that boy and girlfriend, and then they have another one, and then new parents all the time. That it's confusing life. But just thinking about if you had two boyfriends or girlfriends, and you had to move from, you didn't have a home that was your base. You had to move from there 1 week, and the next week, and then 1 weekend there, and if it's yeah, that can create some deep wounds in a child, and so I think that through acting therapy, and it would be with real good actors, that could make the narcissistic person feel that this is a deep emotional, it reminds the person of the childhood with those experiences, recreating, like when you reconstruct something on TV, there's some kind of reconstruction and a new way to handle the situation. And not in the beginning, maybe playing the same scene and scenes over and over until like a Groundhog Day. I know, but teaching and also watching it on, filming it on camera and watching it afterwards and seeing how if that wasn't me, how would I judge that person? How would I view that person? Just thinking that it's not yourself, it's someone else. If you saw that, and what are what does the way of communicating do to you? And yeah, it's if therapists will understand, I think, and most people would, I think. So in order to repair, because Daniel Stern, I have taught that at some lecture at a kindergarten I was in for a very short time. Daniel Stern, yeah, he thinks that children, grown-ups are able to repair traumas, or no, not repair. He says it's never too late if there's something you missed in your childhood, that you didn't go through some stages, or something went wrong in the development, then it's always possible to go back or to repair that. That's what I was taught. So that's also the way I think about it, that it's not too late and now you're grown up and then it can never be repaired. And also, people say that the brain is changed with experiences. So this would be maybe years of therapy, and replaying the same themes and themes from the person's childhood, so that some kind of change would happen in the brain that is long term, and not just some taught role to play in society in order to fit in and not be judged. And it's not role play, it's real actors who can make the person feel that this is real, and I am really handling situations from my childhood. Because some of the parents, I think, to people who have that disorder will have some extreme ways of communicating, acting, and of course there would be no violence. But maybe a person acting like the parent who was violent, and then the person in therapy being able to prevent violence, that would be a victory, because that didn't happen in childhood. That it was possible to make the person understand that violence is not a good thing, and feeling that that person listened and understood and was not violent. So that I don't know if it would work, but I think that there could be something broken that made it not possible to live through the phases of finding your identity, because the new orientation from the traumatic events never took place, and that it's not possible to find out who are you with those experiences. I don't know, it's difficult to explain, because I don't know the real words in and maybe I don't know. If I misunderstood what narcissistic personality disorder is, then I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend anyone.